I kind of set my schedule for the following day, and it's really simple. All I'm doing here is indicating my top 3 priorities for the following day, so that when I wake up in the morning, I kind of have an understanding of what I need to get done, and I'm not going to spend 20 or 30 minutes sifting through that box of cords for that analogy, trying to figure out which one makes the most sense to plug in at that moment. I think that this is one of the most worthwhile things that you can do, because we know how quickly our day can get ahead of us. And a lot of times when we don't have that set schedule and we don't know what our priorities are for the day, what do? We either get lost in our inbox and start like messing around in there, or we get lost on the scroll on social media, just trying to feel productive and like looking for a lead. So that's my first tip. Start the night before, take 10 or 15 minutes, review your schedule, and identify your top 3 daily priorities. Now, if you're already doing something like that, but you're coming up with a list of like 10, stop that. We're going to do 3, because it always takes way more time to get any one thing done. The goal is to make sure that we are prioritizing the most high impact revenue producing activities on the short list. Okay, so then, new day, you wake up, you have your morning routine. Let's talk about how we're going to start our workday. Now, I love having kind of a workday startup routine. I love just taking a quick 10 or 15 minutes before I hit the inbox, before I get on social media. I'm going to gather my mind, and just get in the right frame of mind. Now, some agents are going to say that you have to really start your day with like a solid morning routine, starting at 5 a.m., all this stuff, hit the gym, do your meditations. I love all of that, and I'm a big proponent of that, but I'm at a place in my life where that is not reasonable for me. I don't know what's going on, but I'm just at a place in my life, especially as a mother to a young child, like the 5 a.m. stuff is not happening right now. So right now for me, I'm waking up at like 7:30. If I get a workout in, cool, but really I'm prioritizing time with my family in the mornings. And then I'm getting into my office about 9:30 a.m. And that's when I'm really starting my workday. And I begin by my little workday startup routine, where I'm reviewing my top 3 and then looking at my calendar for the rest of the day, so I have an understanding of what appointments I have to get to. Now, this is where I start adding in some real structure to my days. And again, the nature of the real estate business is not going to allow you to account for every single minute, because fires will erupt in your business, or you have to get really responsive for clients if they're standing outside of a house looking to get inside of it. Like, you know the drill. So what I do is I give myself a few rules to follow, so that I have that structure, that if I do kind of get pulled away into something urgent, I know exactly where to come back to. Now, the first big time block in my little structure for my day-to-day is my power hours. Now, the power hours are the first 2 hours of the morning, where I am straight up working on prospecting and marketing activities. This is when I'm doing any follow-ups, I'm doing any database calls, I'm doing any responses to social media inquiries. This is when I'm confirming appointments with new leads that came in through the night. What's beautiful about my business is that the way that we've set things up is we are an attraction-based business model, meaning leads come to us. They are primarily 90% of the time inbound leads. So they are booking appointments with me, and all I have to do is just confirm them and set that. Now, when they're booking appointments with me through Calendly, for example, they can only book at times that I set my availability. So I know that I'm not going to be waking up first thing in the morning, kind of trying to respond to like a buyer consultation or an urgent client call. During these 2 hours, I'm not going to appointments. I'm never setting appointments during this time. This is specifically managing new leads, following up with other leads, connecting with my database, and then conducting any marketing activities. During this time, my goal is to get 10 conversations in. Okay, so it might not happen right within that time. I might be sending off texts and waiting for a response later in the day if my prospects or database contacts take a while to get back to me. But I'm trying to initiate 10 conversations during this 2-hour window of time. And then also I'm trying to accomplish 1 marketing task. So maybe this looks like sketching out an email newsletter to send out for the month. Or maybe this looks like doing my social media posting during that time on Instagram or TikTok. So again, these are activities specifically fueling the fire for your business. And so I know even if my day totally goes off the deep end after this, I got the most important things done during those 2 hours. So you can check out this video here where I go a little more in depth into power hours. I really kind of break it down into like what activities you should be doing. I could talk about this stuff a lot, but you should know that there is not one way to do this. When I'm working with agents in the Market Authority Academy, we help them create specific power hours that actually reflect their goals and their business and what opportunities they have. So if any coach or guru is coming to you saying, like, just painting with a broad brush and saying this is what you should be doing, they're probably not totally there, right? Like it's not going to really work for you. And this is why a lot of agents wonder, like, well, I'm making my calls, I'm doing all this work, and it's not leading anywhere. You have to tailor your prospecting activities to your goals, or else it's just not going to click. As we get into the afternoon, the first things that I'm going to do is really just take some time for myself. So sometimes I have a lunch by myself or a lunch with my son or my husband, and I really just make sure to nourish myself. I'm really bad at forgetting to do this and then sometimes not eating until like 3 p.m. And if I do that, my day is over. And so I really do prioritize nourishing myself. And so you should be scheduling in a block for your lunch. But if you still feel like you should be doing something to stay busy during this time, then you should be breaking bread with somebody else. So this is a great time to get a face-to-face in. So anytime I'm meeting with other colleagues or meeting with other prospects, and it's more of a social visit, like nurturing a relationship, I'm scheduling that over a lunch, right? Like I'm going to make sure that we're going to go on a nice lunch date or get a nice coffee and a snack, and make sure that if I'm getting those face-to-faces in, we're also going to do it in a way that's going to cultivate deep connection. And there are studies made on how that happens while you're breaking bread or eating with somebody. It's a very connective human experience to share food with somebody, and obviously not like spoon feeding each other, but you know what I mean. Sharing a meal with somebody is a great way to cultivate deep connection, and we want to make sure that we're making space for that. So if I'm not having a little lunch date with somebody I really care about in my family, then I might also make sure to include a lunch date a couple times a week with another colleague or somebody that I'm networking with. And then the rest of the afternoon is left for appointments. So this is your time to be zipping around town, doing all the things that you need to do. Showings, appraisals, inspections, whatever you have going on, that is where you're going to do this. For example, any of my buyer consultation calls or seller interviews, I'm doing those all in the afternoon. I'm, again, not doing it during my morning work. I'm making sure that I'm carving time out to do it during that time. Okay, so before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I want to take a moment to define what systems are, okay? Because it's really important that we have clarity on exactly what a system is and what a system is not. A system is simply a strategy of repeatable steps that produce the same results over and over, okay? Some systems are automated with technology, most are not. Okay, so if you're thinking about systems and you immediately think of technology, CRMs, that kind of thing, that's not what we're talking about here. A system behind your business is simply a predetermined workflow that's going to produce the exact same results every time you execute it. Now, what's interesting is most of your business is probably already systemized. You have systems in the way that you conduct yourself and your business. You may just not understand or realize it. So if we're really looking at it, in creating systems, we're just taking a moment to step back, pull ourselves out of the process, and look at how we can become as efficient and effective in our business as possible. Now, the quickest way to build great systems in your business is by following my proven strategy that I like to call IDEA. IDEA stands for identify, document, execute, and automate. So we'll start with identify. Now, this is the fun part. We're going to identify the areas in your business that most urgently need systems, okay? If we kind of look at your business from a high level, you'll already begin understanding exactly where these areas are. So I kind of wrote a couple of these, and I want to make sure that I hit these right, but you're probably already thinking along these lines. The most effective systems that you can immediately begin implementing are going to be lead generation, lead management, two different things, transaction management, marketing and branding, admin work, and then you can get into the extras. But those first 5 are going to be your most important areas for systemization. Now, if I were to tell you, hey agents, in order to be successful, you need to do 2 hours of lead generation every single day for the rest of your business career. You might think, Stefanie, okay, great, I can lead generate, but what do I do to lead generate? Therein lies the problem, or the solution, really. When you're thinking about systemizing something like lead generation, you're really going to start by asking yourself a couple of questions and determining all the different steps that go into a successful session of lead generation and what the results need to look like. Now, this is going to bring us to the next step in our IDEA acronym. We're going to start with D, document. Once you've identified the different legs of work that need to be systemized, we're going to document all of the little steps, all of the little nuances of that procedure in your business, and put it down into writing and in a place where you can actually refer to it over time. So basically, during document, you're trying to answer two very important questions. What exactly do you need to do step by step? And what qualifies as the best result from doing that process? So take out a pen and a paper, or my favorite, open up a Google Doc, and think about this system that you're working on and really identify every single little step that can go into making this as successful for you as possible. Okay, so for example, let's talk about lead generation. You decide that this year you want to generate 12 transactions, and in order to do that, you're going to have to do a certain number of things daily, weekly, and monthly in your lead generation time in order to generate that result. I want you to document what those steps look like, and there's a couple of questions that you can ask yourself here to get yourself going. So here you might ask yourself a couple of simple questions, like what types of prospecting will you do on each day? What will you need to prepare in order to be successful during your prospecting lead generation sessions? And what will you do with the leads once you've generated them? So apply this process of asking yourself these questions of what needs to happen and what is the result that I'm trying to procure for each system in your business. You are going to know that one of the first things that you have to do when you generate the lead is to qualify them. And that is going to be instrumental in our plan to setting up our CRM follow-up plans for success. Okay, we want our action plans to be kind of designed around the timeline of the lead. All right, here's what I mean. We're gonna do this chronologically. So we wanna have a couple of different follow-up action plans at the ready that are going to apply to leads depending on where they are in the process, whether they are starting 30 days out or starting 12 months out and beyond. Now, you can actually look at your existing client base if you've been in it for a while and kind of see exactly how this is going to apply to your unique business. But for just the sake of time, we're going to break this down into 3 distinct phases of where the client may be in their journey to homeownership or selling their house. So depending on where this client is, they may be starting in the just looking phase. Now, the just looking phase is the beginning of their journey. And when you hear that word, that's what I want you to listen for. The we're just looking, or we're just starting to think about buying or selling. That means they're probably about 12 months out, okay? No worries, you are an amazing real estate agent and you're still gonna be in business 12 months from now, right? So we wanna make sure that our plan is going to help us convert this client, even though it might take a little extra time. Now, if you find that your client falls in this phase of just looking, they're going to be in a couple of different places, right? They are really going to be high level in the home search or home selling process, meaning they're trying to explore their options, right? They're needing a little more education. They're trying to figure out when they're going to make the move. They're trying to figure out where they're going to go, what exactly they need, what they can afford. So they're in the exploring phase. And this is not the time to offer to go look at houses. This is the time to be teacher-like and provide education and provide value. So we want to be thinking in terms of this way of adding value to our clients and not just kind of trying to jump the gun and close the sale right away. Now, your action plan is going to complement this, okay? So along that same vein, we're going to set up our follow-up plan to reach out to this client for every 45 days, okay? And this is going to be either a text or an email or both. During this, you can also add them to your email newsletter if you do that every month. You can also add an MLS strip to send out every month or every 2 weeks, but really your action plan should be set up to remind you to send an email or a text or both if you feel like that's appropriate every 45 days at the minimum. The next phase that we're going to build out these action plans for is the not quite ready yet phase. Okay, so they're not just looking, but they're also not ready to go. They're just not quite ready yet. All right, and those are the terms that I want you to be listening for, because when you hear those keywords, you should know that they're probably about 4 to 8 months out from really making a move. Now, this is actually a critical point, and this is when most leads end up getting intercepted by other agents, because up until now, they really haven't been talking about their plans to buy or sell yet with the people that they already know. So they're not getting referred to other agents until now, and they're not walking into open houses until now. So this is when we need to dial things up. They're going to start getting a little more serious about their home search or a little more serious about selling their house. So this is when we want to be in front of them. And because they are being really serious, they're getting more serious about their plans here, timelines can change at the drop of a hat. Okay, so we want to make sure that we're in front of them. Here's how we're going to make that happen. In setting up your action plan for those who are about 4 to 8 months out, we're going to be sure to set a task reminder or an automated email to reach out to them every 30 days minimum. And you want to make sure that you are sending out an email and calling and sending a text every 30 days. And your objective here is just to make contact. All right. And during this time, you're just going to want to make sure that you are achieving a conversation over the phone, whether that's text or phone call, and having a conversation to check in on their plans, set a consultation if you have not yet, and make sure that you're providing value. So after that phase comes the ready to go phase. And that's what I want you to be listening to. If you hear the we're ready to go, or if you hear the can we look at these houses, or hey, we went into this open house the other day, can you tell me about this neighborhood? If you hear any of those keywords, you need to know that it's time to move and start initiating the sale. Okay, so during this time, we want to make an action plan that is going to be a little more assertive and a little more aggressive in our follow-up. This lead is indicating to you that they want to be in a home within the next 90 days, or they want to be out of their home within the next 90 days. Okay, so now is the time to set up a consultation if you have not yet. If you have not had a listing consultation or buyer consultation, get that booked right away. And your action plan to accompany this is you are going to be reaching out every week to 2 weeks at the minimum to make sure that you are helping them get their financing in place. We're crystallizing all of the details that they're looking for in their next home and really planning out when you're going to start look at homes. Or on the selling side, we're making sure to do our pre-marketing checklist, get the property ready to sale, and ordering photos, ordering signs, getting all that stuff ready to go.